Ladies, hello. It's nice to formally see each other. I know Natasha has been globetrotting a little bit, so thanks for making the time. And Val had a great conversation.
Anything for you guys.
Yeah, we need it. And Val, it's great to finally connect. So thanks.
Nice to see you, Alex.
Yeah, likewise. So
and I miss you, Natasha.
Miss you too. Let's eat some ice cream.
Just to get started, like, how did you guys meet, and talk a little bit about the relationship that the two of you have personally, and kind of what's going on? I think that'd be a good place for us to start.
We met through a marketing agency. I think she introduced us, Kirsten, shout out.
Kirsten Schellenberg, yeah.
Yeah, and then, I admire Natasha. I mean, she is like huge in the, CPG world, and especially in Los Angeles. I mean, all over the world. So, I reached out to her and I said, let's do some collab. And very receptive, very helpful. And then, that was like 2 years ago, I think, Natasha. And then, I reached out to her again, like recently, and I said, I want like a real collab. So let's do it.
Awesome. Well, it's nice to see you both. So, obviously today, lots of discussion in our world with what's been happening around health and wellness, and Val, as you and I talked, also happiness, right? And you can't have the first two. Well, the first two don't matter if you don't have the third, right? So we kind of want to touch a little bit on that. Val, your business, Spread the Love, started on the heels of your wedding. Healthy small batch, high quality, nut butters and jam business based in LA, as you alluded to. You're in over 80 places around the world. More on that in just a second. And then Natasha, what a cool story. Towing an old mail truck, figuring it out in the middle of the desert. And here we are, and shameless plug, that dough though is one of my favorites. We'll talk later about how I can get the strawberry shortcake snickerdoodle because my local grocery stores aren't carrying it. But great to be here with you both. Val, tell us a little bit more about where you are, what you're up to today, and what you guys are doing.
I am, plugged in here in Los Angeles. I have a lot of visions for the company. I've always wanted to really, our company is very like authentic to ourselves, to me and my husband, to our personalities. It came out of our wedding, from our authentic love for our family and for food. So we gave away jars of peanut butter, and people loved it. And so now, like a lot of like my visions are like, okay, I really want to show my personality and like my heritage in my company. And so we're doing a lot of, collaborations with Filipino American food businesses. And, Natasha, Coolhaus is co-founded by a Filipino American, and Natasha really wanted to honor that. And so, we work with them in other restaurants all over LA, and it's been great. We were on Good Day LA yesterday promoting our ice cream that we created with Coolhaus. It's called Turonosaurus Almond Butter.
Nice. Awesome. Well, hopefully that can make it all the way over to where I am in Maryland. That would be amazing. And then Natasha, so we know who got the first nut butters that Val made. They were her wedding friends who got them as a gift. Who got the first ice cream sandwich? And then when did the light bulb go off? And talk to us about that moment and to where you are today.
I think, the very first products, and this is, I think, what's important about entrepreneurship. We really, started kind of creating the ice cream sandwiches, in Freya's mom's kitchen, and at our house. I guess we were both kind of living at home, and Freya and I were subletting somewhere, so we made it there, my parents' house, and we really just sort of gave them to friends and family to start with, to get a sense of what they thought about the product. And then I also really wanted to help lighten the mood, kind of in the early days of the Great Recession, when I was working at Disney Imagineering, with a lot of just the tense atmosphere around the office, and kind of a lot of stressful moments, a lot of layoffs, handing them out also to colleagues, to just make them feel better. Ice cream's just one of the ultimate comfort foods, and there's just so much emotion wrapped in it. So those early sandwiches that had a lot of room for improvement. And I think it was good to get early feedback, from people who are willing to be honest with you. Especially kids will be very, very honest with you. Sometimes your friends or family won't, because they don't want to make you feel bad. But there was a whole kind of months and months of just testing it out and trying to figure out what we were doing and try to even understand the product. And I think it's funny to share that in common with Val and Zach, is that you kind of start in this very intimate circle. And, I think your friends now, I'm sure they all remember this like very humble beginning, and I'm sure have stories to tell about it. And then they see it grow and there's like an attachment to it. But then, yeah, the first sandwiches we really sold were at Coachella Music Festival. So we went from tiny group of incubating the product, trying to understand it, and just making in like a home kitchen to a festival of 100,000 people in the desert, so just a little, like, I think sort of exemplifies the Coolhaus spirit. We sort of go big or go home, and we're willing to just sort of, step into the fire and try to, see what happens. And yeah, we really, there was a cult following at Coachella after those 3 or 4 days. And the product really went, the brand and the product really went viral from there. So we knew we were onto something. And that was really like, okay, we got to keep going. People want this. There's excitement. Let's take this to the next level.
Yeah, and I think both of you can attest to a good old moniker in marketing, that the best marketing is a great product, which both of you certainly seem to have. So congratulations on that endeavor. Getting back to what we're here to talk about today from a health and wellness perspective, you guys, are making sweet treats that are delicious, right? So, Val, we touched on this a little bit. What does health and wellness mean to you, and like how do you look at your products and where that can go? Before the one thing that sticks out to me is, you turn that peanut butter jar around and you're wondering why there are 6 ingredients in there. Could you kind of cascade that a little bit? I loved what you had to say. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, well, so I came from the Philippines originally. I came here when I was 14, and I think living in the Philippines, I just ate a lot of like home cooked meals, so not a lot of like, jars or canned foods. And so when I was looking at Zach, my husband and co-founder, when I was looking at his jar of peanut butter, I was like, hydrogenated oils, sugar. Why is there 6 ingredients in this jar? No wonder I don't like it, And I had just recently gotten a Vitamix blender back then. So I was like, well, let me just blend peanuts. And, to me, that was like very, I'm going to go back to that word authentic to my lifestyle. I wanted to see what I can do with the food and how I can make it better for myself. A lot of it also, health and wellness is like very intuitive, So if you're like aware of your family's health history, for example, like for me, like diabetes runs in my family. Like I tend to I'm not afraid of sugar, but I tend to okay, cool. Well, I ate a lot of ice cream yesterday, so I think I'm going to skip today and then eat ice cream again tomorrow. I just have a set lifestyle of what I can and can't eat. And I think, having that is also good for my mental health. I'm not restraining myself. Oh my God, I can't have wine. I've had too much of it in the week. And I'm like, no, you know what? I deserve it. I'm a mom and I work hard and I'm going to do it, and it feels better that way,
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point, right? It's not the same thing for everyone. There's a way to look at it, and everybody has their own perspective. Natasha, from where you sit, we've talked a little bit about what's going on in the space, right? And the alternatives that are out there. Another, company that's, blown up is food, plant-based, meat products that are everywhere from grocery store shelves to Burger King and in between. Can you guys talk to us a little bit about what's going on and what you guys are doing in your lab kitchens and some of the tests you're doing with some of the alternatives, particularly in the plant-based space?
Yeah, we have a lot going on there. And I think there's it's the fastest growing part of the market at Whole Foods, for example, which is really our biggest partner. It's the biggest seller and the fastest growing and the fastest mover. It's become a dominant part of the set that we have there. And I think there's a lot that can happen in plant-based. Where we've started is creating an alternative, to the ice cream base made from peas, brown rice, cocoa butter, with the goal in mind that there's no compromise in the eating experience, and that's texture, that's visual, that's uniqueness of flavors that you can build, quality, creaminess. And I would never have launched it if I didn't feel we could do that. And so that's coming from, plants more in the traditional sense, a legume, and that rice and that cocoa butter, really to create that richness. But there's, I think, amazing, potential breakthrough in, like lab grown. I think that dairy, you're seeing a lot of innovation kind of following what was happening in the meat-based, the cell-based meats, really trying to make ourselves not be so dependent on animals, at the end of the day, for having a delicious eating experience. I really think is going to be a huge, huge part of the future. And I think we have to come at it from all these different angles for it to work. So, right now we're exploring multiple different angles. And I think we can all continue to eat great things if we're willing to be more kind of responsible about those choices, or at least have more moderation behind those choices, and build a system that's like truly sustainable for us to stay on the planet and keep feeding our children and their children, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really excited about that. And we're really working on bringing that into new formats. Like we have our cones and our sandwiches that are been really big for us.
Awesome. I think that makes a ton of sense. A little bit, one of the other things that, I'd love to unpack with you. You both come from very proud communities with the connection to the Filipino lineage that you also have. And then some of the other communities that you guys are involved with and support. Can you talk a little bit about what your brands have done and the impact that you've had in the space on others outside of those that just, consume your product directly? What does it mean to the brand? What is the responsibility, Natasha, that you alluded to, that you feel now with the success that you've had to give back and to, shed a light on, some of the inequalities and some of the things that have happened on the folks that, represent, consume, or even work for you guys at Coolhaus? Can you talk to us a little bit about some of those initiatives and what you guys are proud of and working on?
Yeah.
Nothing ever is perfect on webinars. Val, while we see if she can come back around, because I'm guessing that it's just maybe you and me that
like a true connection. Oh, am I frozen still? Better?
You're frozen. You're back now though. So yeah, keep going.
Okay. Using a platform for positive change, I think is really important, and really defining that in an authentic way. And for me, founding this business with Freya, as queer woman, Freya as a woman of color, feeling like you're definitely some steps behind. And what can we do to make it more equal for the next generation, so that everyone's starting from an equal place with an equal opportunity. And that's for us, that's mentorship, that's public speaking, that's raising awareness, that's practicing what you preach. If you want to create more diverse workplaces, then yours needs to be also. And even within that diversity, is it really equal? Do people from diverse backgrounds have the same opportunity as some of the others? And so we really leaned in there. And then I think really using the product as that platform. So like we've created flavors like we did for Black Girl Ventures, where we partnered with them to create a carrot cake ice cream, and the proceeds from profits go to one of their grants for their entrepreneurs. And it's like an incubator for Black and brown female founders. And we pitched that everywhere from Walmart to, Kroger. So I think if you can have a delicious product that's fun, and you can have a meaningful message, and you can bring it all together, it's like, what's not to love?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's amazing. And I think it's certainly more relevant now than ever before. Quick one more to piggyback on that, like, not to get too sappy on you, but like, how does that make you feel, like knowing that you're having an impact, that you're placing a product that is in one of the biggest retailers on the planet, and that those funds go directly towards something that means so much to you? Can you elaborate on that just briefly?
Well, I think from like one's own perspective, I think if you really want to be committed to the work you're doing, and you want to be into it, it's like, if you have to have purpose, like feeling like the work you do has a purpose. Just you show up so differently every day. And I think, Val's the same way. I think also as like a mom, it's like you're gonna, have your family, but you're going to spend so much time doing something you're so passionate about, ice cream and, you know, nut butters. When there's something bigger behind it, I think it all kind of, it just all fits together so much better. Because you're not just selling something, you're really trying to make a change, you know, and stand for something and have that purpose behind the work that you're doing. And that can be a million different things, but just that sense of purpose is so important. And I ultimately think it's more exciting for consumers too. Like they want to feel like the purchases they're making have a purpose behind them as well. So really everybody wins if everyone's contributing to that. And then ultimately you can create an opportunity for someone who maybe didn't have it before to start a business and grow their business. It's just the most rewarding thing I can imagine.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. You know, Val, how about you from your perspective? You know, you're pretty entrenched in the communities that you're in. Can you talk to us a little bit about, you know, some of those purpose and very intentional things that you guys are doing and what it means to you and what you're working on?
Yeah, you know, about like, I think something like 3 years ago, I was thinking about something, you know, to do with our company that you know, I can give back, you know, without like making it feel like I'm forcing it, you know. So I literally like walk outside and here in Los Angeles, and you just see like the homeless population is just it's huge right now. And so during that time, I said, hey, you know, why don't we give back to the community that is here right in front of us? And so that's something that, you know, we are doing consistently every year. We are giving back to the homeless organizations here in Los Angeles, which which kind of like snowballed into something else. Zach wanted to also give back to his original community, like in Wisconsin. So we also do scholarships. We provide scholarships to high school students in Wisconsin. We provided 3 scholarships last year and then 5 scholarships this year. And then one of our big goals is to eventually provide like $100,000 worth of scholarships to high school students, which is, you know, our future. So that's something that we're doing here at Spread the Love. And it's very, you know, very us. It is, you know, like Los Angeles and Wisconsin, where Zach is from. And it makes our hearts grow bigger. You know, it really does help when there's a purpose behind your company. I could cry with, you know, what Natasha is doing with her company because it's so good. And we are we're benefiting from it because Natasha's, you know, really receptive to, you know, the idea of like, hey, you know, let's work with Filipino American businesses, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when it comes to that, right, you guys are able to, you know, share a special connection. And Natasha, it comes from the growth that you have, right? And, you know, just a candid question. When you guys got started, did you ever think that you would get, you know, quite to the point where you are today? Like, was that ever a thought that you'd actually be in as many retailers and as many, you know, sections as you are? And, you know, not only that, but how do you scale and keep those values? Because I'm sure at one point, you know, it was the 2 of you, and then there were 3, and then there were 5, and, you know, there are so many more people along. Like, how do you do that in an intentional way, but keep those values grounded in the people that are on, around, and support your brand and your business, and provide the very opportunity that Val alluded to when you're able to get back to this community? So I'd love to hear more on that.
Yeah, I think, well, first, I think I think you have to have a big vision in a lot of ways. And I think I did. And I think Fran and I did have a big idea of what we were on to in terms, you know, well, it just felt like something big. You just could feel the kind of energy in the room of the idea. You know, the ice cream sandwiches, the truck, the moment with kind of like social media at the time, people caring about food differently, people wanting to eat differently. There were so many, it was like, so I was like, this is a really big idea, but I don't think I had the words or the understanding to know exactly what that might look like in the detailed way that I do. Chip away at what kind of putting that all together. So I do tell people, like, the more you can visualize for yourself, and I think women, we don't do this enough. Like, what does this mean for me? Will I be satisfied? Will I be paid enough? selfish moment too. Think about 2, 5, 10 years, etc. But I'm like, whoa, like I can't believe this is this like quirky idea of the architecture ice cream.
Right.
Work on this quirky idea, and it's pretty like breathtaking and humbling. And I think you have to stay that way. And I think you have to check to find the values. I think people need to hear things 10, 11, 12, 13 times. You know, as a leader, you think, oh, I told them that. It's almost easier to do it now because it takes more time to kind of refine what those values are.
Right.
You have more skill as a leader to take the time to sit with your team, to, you know, have a round table. So it's like going to be messy in the beginning, and that's just the way it is. But then you kind of get above, you know, come up for air, and I think you can start to work on the business, not just.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I think that's a pretty powerful statement. You know, on the flip side of that, Val, your longest standing coworker.
Yes.
Your husband,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that handsome demon.
how do you guys balance being business partners, parents, entrepreneurs, co-workers? Like, talk to us a little bit about that dynamic. You know, transparently, my wife and I collaborate on a business that we have, and I know firsthand that it's not easy. And, you know, sometimes, you know, mountains are molehills and molehills are mountains. But talk to us a little bit about what that's been like from a health and wellness perspective with you and Zach, and how you guys, you know, create the appropriate boundaries within that work environment to make sure that you can keep having that consistent approach day in and day out, right?
Yeah. We definitely have boundaries. He works in one department and I work in another. Like, we tend to like kind of not be on each other's business. You know, whenever it's like marketing or, you know, press involved, he tends to like not touch it too much because he knows that I'm gonna growl at him and like, hey, stay in your lane, you know, kind of thing. So we know each other's lanes, and we tend to stay in that. And then every Thursdays we have date nights, because it's a way for us to kind of, you know, look at each other like husband and wife again, or a boyfriend and girlfriend, you know, like, let's talk about like things that we don't usually talk about, like at Spread the Love or with our kids. You know, we end up like talking about our kids a lot at date night, but you know, we asked each other like some new questions, and it's something I think that is, you know, healthy for our relationship. I'm really thankful that someone gave that advice one time, and now that we've been following it for 5 years. And yeah, I you know, it's been a pleasure to work with my husband, to be honest. So.
That's awesome. What, if any, involvement do your kids have in what you guys are building?
Oh my gosh, they have crazy ideas. There was one idea that my daughter has. When she was 4 years old, she said, "Mommy, I want to put some peanuts in the ground and help you, you know, produce peanut butter, you know, basically like planting peanuts." And we turned that into a commercial, and it was very touching. And, you know, like the whole family was involved, and they just have like these crazy ideas that we're like, oh, okay, we'll make a book one day, you know, about Spread the Love. And, you know, so we make a list of it. I mean, I feel like, yeah, they inspire us, obviously, you know, with the company. Yeah.
Nice. I think that's very cool. Another question for you. You talked about, you know, your connection with food a lot growing up. You know, with where you guys are today and where you're headed, right? What more do you think there will be, or I guess a better way to say it is, you know, how do you continue to ensure your connectivity with food and whole foods and healthy and well living? Like, how do you ensure that continues on, you know, and that people are kind of using and consuming your product in the same way that you intended for? So I guess, you know, said another way, what's kind of next for you guys? Is there, you know, a different product suite or anything that you're looking to branch out? Or are there more collaborations on the horizon to continue to spread and put your product in places that you know will get you back to what got you started, which is that community aspect and that family aspect around, you know, food?
The category that we're in, nuts and seeds, butters, it's endless, right? There's just so much that we want to do. We want to venture out into, allergen free, spreads. We definitely want to consider everyone. We want to venture out into some like cheeses, just like foods that we love, eventually, like, I don't know, oils. It really, we have a big imagination, and we are our own bosses, so we can really like do anything that we want to do. And that makes me want to like wake up every day and like want to work.
Yeah, which is really awesome. We have about 10 minutes left, so just a quick reminder to the folks that are on the call, drop some questions in the Q&A. Taking it a little bit, outside, of the realm of us and inspirations and things like that. Natasha, I'd love to come back to you. Can you talk a little bit about, what you guys are able to provide from a health and wellness perspective of the employees that you currently have at Coolhaus and some of the initiatives you're doing there? I think, one of the things that within that I think we do, which is amazing, is we offer a mental health stipend, $150 a month. We also offer a physical health stipend, which is coming back now that you're kind of where we are versus where we've been over the last year. Is there anything that you guys are doing for your employees on that front, that you think is cool or is worth sharing? Because there's certainly a ton of other marketers on the phone that would love to take some ideas if you have anything that you can think of. Don't know. All right, perhaps we've lost her. We're back to a connection challenge. Val, come back to you for a quick second on a similar kind of concept there, right?
Yeah.
With you guys, what's important in that same capacity for your employees? How are you able, to reward them? Looks like we got Natasha back, so that's a plus. Is there anything that you're doing? Nothing's easy. Is there anything you're doing on that front for your employees from a health and wellness, particularly a mental or physical? Natasha, I'd love to hear more from you, since we've been hearing from Val a little bit now that you're back and you've joined us.
Yeah. I think one thing that's been great coming out of COVID is we do summer Fridays, which have now become fall Fridays, which will become winter Fridays.
Yeah.
So I think my philosophy is, it's all about getting the job done. And I'm not a big stickler for, this hour at this place, and you need to do it this way. It's like, if you are getting it done and you can really tell, then that's what matters to me. And I think, to have, I actually don't know why we just all think we need 5 work days and 2 weekend days. Every time I have a long weekend, I'm like, oh my God, it's just like, it's like night and day. And I see with my kids too, like if they have a day off from school, like Remy wants to go to school so badly the next day, and sometimes she's just not ready after the weekend. So I think it's human nature. And I think if you can't necessarily always give people raises, if you can give them a better work experience and give them the trust to get it done, on a more flexible schedule. I have found that to be like a perk that my team's really, really loved. And then we just try to have fun together. We're not in the office every day. So when we are, I feel like we're constantly doing happy hours and lunches or trying to celebrate something or some cool activity. And it's just so good to get to know each other and feel like a family. And of course, we have healthcare, and I have, dental and eye care. And I think as far as the mental health, I don't know. I think mental health care in this country is very, very far from where it needs to be. And I wish it was treated more like physical health care. But I think in the meantime, as a leader, you have to listen, and you have to make sure people are okay, and you have to make them feel safe to talk about it if they're not. So just creating that environment for them to do that, and having empathy and being sensitive, and at the very minimum, I think that's really important. And I think people will tell you if they feel safe to be that way. And that's really important to me. So those are some of the, I mean, other than eating ice cream all day, those are some of the big perks for working at Coolhaus.
Yeah, I would say that would probably be my favorite, without a doubt. Val, how about you from your side? Is there anything, on the employee spectrum of health and wellness?
Yeah, we have a very small and mighty team, but we do provide health insurance and $50 a month for mental health, $45 a month for Peloton app, whoever has a Peloton, we all have Pelotons. And just open communication, really. Like if someone in our team is going through something difficult in their lives, like we tend to just tell them, hey, take the day off. We have unlimited paid time off because we're small, and we can do it. So yeah, those are just a few of the perks. Nice,
which is amazing. I have one more question for each of you here, and then we'll work towards wrapping. And if we get anything that comes over the line for Q&A, we'll certainly dive into that. Val, we'll start with you, and we'll end with Natasha. You're growing, you're all over the place now in terms of where your product is, right? Kind of what's next for the business, and how do you grow that way, responsibly, and what are some of the, mission critical elements of your business that you absolutely cannot lose? And what are you going to do to make sure that you maintain them?
Definitely, we cannot add palm oil to our nut butters and jams. That's one of the things that, that we really cannot change at all. But yeah, in about, we haven't really entertained any investors, to come in. So that's something that we're looking forward to doing eventually, some strategic investors that will put our good products out there. We know that, our products are so good and premium, and it needs to really, get out there. And because we're a small and mighty team, we think that a strategic investor can help us do that. Yeah, we have a lot of big dreams, and currently I really want to collaborate more with a lot of the brands that I admire. Actually, Natasha, Coolhaus is the first one that I ever collaborated with, so there's more to come.
Awesome.
I'm excited for those other brands that get to collab with you, Val.
Nice.
You guys really are they're so passionate, and you go all in, so it's awesome.
Natasha, the same from you with where you are, right? What's next for you guys? What's the next, checkpoint, the next goal, right? Obviously you want to keep maintaining, the communal aspect that you shared with us earlier, today, but talk to us a little bit about what's next for you guys and where you see yourselves going.
Yeah, I think we're actually in a really interesting moment with a big strategic investment that will really allow us to, I think, just catapult a lot more with the plant-based, but really also getting the awareness out about what we're doing. Our marketing team's still super small. It's really, me and I have an amazing social media manager, but she's actually, she's out, contractors, and I've been at the company internally, and that's really it. A big part of our marketing is our events business, our activations, our partnerships, the catering, and the retail shop. But it's going to be amazing to really, I think we've worked hard to create what we have, and I think the next stage is really just growing a huge amount of the awareness for it, and then continuing to innovate, doing probably one more big product line. Like, we have the cones and the Sammys as the major and novelties, but I'd like to do one more potentially bite size. And then continue to do partnerships that are meaningful, that give back, and that bring that sense of purpose to the brand and the people who work there. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, and lead the best I can, and take it to the next level.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. And thanks to both of you ladies for just a, awesome, session today, just kind of pulling back the curtain and sharing some things so candidly. And congratulations to you both on your successes. Really appreciate it. I have one question that's come in It kind of a basic one here, and it's actually from a colleague of mine, so it doesn't show up in the chat, so they're cheating. So they just said, as women leaders and as female leaders, you know, what is the main thing, you know, that you look to junior staff members or people that, you know, have an idea and want to get out and get started? Val, I'll take it over to you. Love to know what your answer is, and to know, you know, what guidance you would share for somebody who's thinking about doing something, but, you know, hasn't quite made the leap yet.
Stop thinking and just do it. Literally, I mean, just the action speaks louder than words. I know how cheesy that sounds, but it is very true.
Cool. Natasha?
Yeah, I think, and I think you can take a calculated risk. You know, I think that you can have a big idea and you can get it started. It doesn't mean that you have to abandon everything else that you're doing. You know, I think Val and I are testaments to, like, something started when we both had other things going on. We didn't, like, you know, quit everything and then be like, okay, this is it now, you know. So there's nothing stopping you from at least trying something on the side, you know, and yeah, and just make it happen and learn from it and have something to go off of, rather than just, you know, analysis paralysis. And I think, like, think of it to the biggest degree possible and what that would look like. Like, take it all as an exercise, take it all the way through. And what is the biggest possible scenario you can have, you know? I'm just a very big person on, if you build it, they will come. Like, you have to have the words on the paper to really know that they can happen, and hold yourself accountable and to those dreams, and the people around you to those dreams. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. I think that's great advice, and really, really awesome, and really appreciate it from both of you. So thank you very much for the time. And more importantly, this has been great. You know, I've enjoyed it personally. So thank you for sharing everything, and look forward to touching base with you both in person here in the not so distant future. And thanks for carving out.
Yes.
I know you're both busy, so I appreciate it. And back to Emily.